Hey guys, Sneaky Snake here, Brothers in Arms, World of Warships, and today's video we're going to take a look into our next installment into the Tactics and Strategy series, and today's episode is going to feature the British light cruisers, specifically the tiers 6 through tier 10, which goes Leander, Fiji, Edinburgh, Neptune, and of course the mighty tier 10 Minotaur. We're going to omit the Belfast from this because the Belfast is a bit different because it has access to radar and smoke, and of course it doesn't have the British super heavy AP shells, but it has access to high explosive. So the replay you're going to see here in the Edinburgh is actually one of the best World of Warships games that I've ever had. It's going to be extremely intense. It's going to go down to the wire at the end in a 2 versus 1, and I think this is one of my best replays ever in terms of base XP, kills, and damage done. I'm divisioned up with a couple of my Egg Puck buddies, Halcyon and Electrician Zing, and we're going to be moving over here to the Alpha objective on the map Estuary. Now, the British light cruisers, again, tiers 6 through 10, they excel at getting into caps, they excel at taking out destroyers, and they're extremely deadly the closer that they get to the target. And the three main strengths of these British light cruisers are the AP rounds and the rate of fire, workable torpedoes, and of course the access to the smoke consumable. So moving over here to Objective Alpha, I'm going to try to put myself into a position where I'm going to be able to get easy shots into the cap, and also keeping some of the island that's just off to my starboard side on my starboard side, so I can, use that to guard myself from enemy shells that might be coming in from over there on the sea line. The enemy team generally pushes around the island, the headland there that's in D5, D4, and then they kind of swing around and go through, and then you see the two islands at Echo 3. That's a good spot for enemy ships that have very good shell ballistics in terms of being able to throw them over the island like American cruisers, or British cruisers for that matter. So I'm going to put myself into a similar position here, and you see how I'm using the island in front of me to be able to mask my approach up into the A cap. I have not been spotted yet. My two buddies over there are going to be doing the spotting for me because the Kutuzov and the Otago both have pretty good detection ranges. There is an enemy destroyer on the cap at Alpha, so I'm going to slow down and creep out. British smoke only lasts for about 7.5, 8 seconds when you deploy it, and right as I get detected here, I'm going to creep out a little bit, and as soon as I see that enemy Iowa on my starboard side, I'm going to pop my smoke. And my first shot of the game goes downrange at the enemy Kutuzov. So here at the beginning of the replay, I'd like you to take note of just how deadly this armor piercing is against targets, whether they're broadside or not. Now, the British light cruisers also have access to the hydroacoustic, and while it's not German in its range, duration, or torpedo detecting abilities, it's good enough to get the job done. And you're going to see here that I'm already starting to back up because, again, I know there's a destroyer in the cap, and I'm awaiting the inevitable torpedoes that will be coming my way. The Kutuzov does go off to his starboard side because he got whacked for about 6,000 damage on my first salvo here. And as I'm starting to back up, I'm still able to get shots into this enemy Iowa. I am not detected, and look at the damage that I am doing to this guy. Even if it's only sometimes my forward turrets that it's slamming home into the side of his superstructure. About 6,000 2 salvos ago, only about 4,000 right there with the forward guns. And you can see here shooting into the superstructure, into the top of the belt armor, where there really is no armor, so to speak. You just do so much damage, and the ticker on the top right is almost at 30,000 damage already, and this Iowa is just getting absolutely obliterated by this AP. Look at that hit. 6 penetrating hits, about 5,000 right there. Gonna get another broadside here. Maybe I'll be able to get the kill. He is using his damage control. I managed to land a 6K salvo, and unfortunately I don't snag the kill, but Electrician Zing takes him out. We secure the first kill of the game, and I'm already up to 37,000 points of damage, with about 30,000 of that done to the enemy Iowa alone. So I use the hydroacoustic to dodge the torpedoes that I kind of figured were coming. I used the armor piercing just to absolutely pulverize that guy. He made a horrible play pushing out into the open like that and just getting focused on by not just me. And look at that. Even at 12.5 kilometers, I hit quite a few shells right into the rear end of that New Orleans, and just some very, very good damage here. 42,000. So at this point, with most of the enemy ships that have been turned away from Objective Alpha, I'm going to move in as I score another hit on the enemy New Orleans. Now again, there's still that enemy destroyer out there. I believe it is the Shiratsuyu, or one of the Japanese destroyers that's in this game. So I do have to be careful, and with my smoke gone, I'm still not detected at this point. So what that tells me is that that destroyer is probably behind the islands at D2 or D3, so I feel that it's safe for me to move in. Got 34 seconds left on the cap. Now the reason why my guns are pointed over to the right side is because there was an enemy Omagi that briefly appeared on the minimap coming from Objective Bravo. And at this point, as I do get detected, The enemy destroyer is somewhere off to my port side, so I'm okay. I do have priority target on. That is a must in British light cruisers. You really do need it to be able to see how many ships are aiming at you, because these things are very fragile. The Edinburgh does have over 100 millimeters of belt armor, but the bow is extremely weak, and any shells that come through just do massive amounts of damage. And clearly, right here, I was expecting this Amagi to continue to go around the corner. His secondaries do open up on me, but my smoke is ready to go, as I do about 4,500 points of damage to him. I'm going to pop my smoke. Luckily for me, his guns were pointing. It was a bit of a calculated risk there, but sometimes you have to do that in these light cruisers, and a lot of times it won't pay off for you, and you will get massively citadeled, and your game will be over very, very early. So at this point, I'm not going to shoot my torpedoes. You can single fire these things, unlike any other nation in the game currently, and it's really nice to be able to do that. More torpedoes coming in from that Shiratsuyu behind me, and even though I don't have hydroacoustic, I got some friends over there that were able to spot those things, so instead of continuing to back up, I was able to stop, and those torpedoes are going to pass just to my stern. Now you're going to notice here where I'm aiming at on this enemy Amagi. Even though he's completely bow in on me, I'm not aiming at the turrets, I'm not aiming at the bow, I'm actually aiming right at the conning tower. And because the conning tower is generally the only armored part of the bridge and the superstructure area, any shells that don't manage to hit that box, basically, right on the front of the ship, is going to be able to overpen, and because so many of the shells are hitting, you get 12 of these guns, you're still going to be able to do some decent damage, and right there, about 3,000 on that completely bow-in ship. Now, at this point, as I'm getting ready to capture Objective Alpha, there's only 13 seconds left. That Shiratsuyu I took note of, because the last time that he was detected, he was at Delta 3, and it appeared that he was moving in towards my position. So at this point, my hydroacoustic has been activated now for about a minute, but I am being very aware that that guy may or may not be trying to rush my position. I don't know it for sure, but it's just my guess. So at this point, as my torpedoes get reloaded, and the British light cruisers do have a pretty solid reload time on their torpedoes, I'm going to now move out of my smoke, because again, it's just this kind of sixth sense that I got going on right now. I just feel like that this destroyer is trying to move in on me. So the moment of truth comes, I come out of my smoke, I do get detected, and as I'm swinging my guns to bear on the turrets, 600 and now make that 75 health, get a full broadside out, and there we go. The Shiratsuyu appears at 4 kilometers. 2 of my torpedoes slam home into the Amagi as I manage to kill the enemy turrets for my first kill of the game, and now the hunter has become the hunted. And that Shiratsuyu, even though he's angling, yeah, these armor-piercing rounds are going to go right through. The Amagi is at less than 1,000 health, so I'm going to swing my guns into play really quickly. The rear turrets are able to take care of business. Second ship killed, and now I'm at full speed trying to get ahead of these torpedoes, which I will easily be able to do. And that Shiratsuyu is... he's dead. There's nothing he's going to be able to do. Hopefully this next salvo will be able to take him to Davy Jones's locker. And right there, the armor piercing just coming in handy. 4,000 on that full broadside destroyer, 4 penetrating hits. And now we're up to 102,000 points of damage, 3 ships killed, and it's 446 to 400. So a very, very good play over here by myself, pushing in. Got some good support from my teammates over there. Electrician Zing is still alive, and we were able to take care of business here. So if I were to die right now here in the Edinburgh, it would be a good game. This would be a very solid performance. There'd be nothing to complain about, but there is still plenty more to do in this game. So far what you've seen is very good armor piercing usage, torpedoes coming in handy at the right time, and then of course using the smoke. Now I do have Superintendent on my British captain. You really do need it on these British light cruisers, because the more smokes you can get, the better. And of course, you also get an extra heal and hydroacoustic. So at this point, I'm moving back towards Objective Charlie. We do have Alpha and Charlie, and at this point, I thought that we actually captured Delta, but apparently my team decided to do otherwise, and they completely moved through the decap without actually bothering to capture it, because, hey, it's domination, but I guess it's standard battle, right? I have no idea. The North Carolina on our team does manage to kill the enemy Kutuzov, so at this point, the enemy team only has 5 ships remaining, and they are all over in their base. There's the New Orleans, an Ibuki, an Iowa, an Amagi, and an enemy Kutuzov, but although we do have a 2-ship lead here, as I'm slowing down, and I'm going to get some shots here through this little gap here in the mountains, this lead that we have right now is not going to last for very long. The enemy Iowa takes care of our friendly Bismarck, and now the North Carolina and the Kutuzov are in a 3 versus 2 engagement over there, and the North Carolina only has 4,000 hit points. So all of a sudden, we are going to be losing this game here really quickly. Now, why I wanted to go back to Objective Charlie is because on the estuary map, this is a little bit of tactics here, is the Kutuzov manages to get an arsonist, and all of a sudden, we only have 4 ships. Anyway, the reason why I want to go back to Charlie is because if any of the enemy ships manage to make their way back to Alpha, we're going to be able to get spots on them. If I go to F5 or F6, I'm not only going to be able to get vision on Objective Delta, but obviously I'm going to be right next to Charlie, and I'm also going to get vision on Objective Alpha. So what it allows you to do is it allows you to control 3 of the capture points at once, or at least, have vision on them. And that's something that's very important. And because these British light cruisers have very good detectability, I have a full concealment build on my captain, and it's 9 kilometers, which is extremely good. So as I'm about to go behind the island here, I can afford to take a pot shot like that. My detection goes up very slightly, but that's okay, because now I'm in cover. So yeah, 9 kilometer detectability, it's very good. The Fiji can get to around 9.7, 9.8. I don't remember which one it is. And even the Minotaur at tier 10 can actually get sub 9 detection. I think it's 8.7 or 8.8. So these things are very sneaky cruisers. The sneakiest, of course, in the game, I believe. Yes, I don't think there's another cruiser that has better that's not British. I don't think. I think the Otago's like 8.7 as well, but I don't know on that one. Anyway, so I haven't done any damage in a while. Again, just trying to put myself into a position. I know that 3 enemy ships were moving over towards Delta, so at this point I'm telling the Kutuzov that he's got to get out of there. He can't keep hiding behind that rock over there because he's just going to get focused down the second that he gets detected. So I was coming over here and I'm thinking to myself, okay, the enemy team is probably pushed through Delta by now, or at least they're getting ready to. So it was very surprising that I actually didn't get a spot over here. So now I'm swinging my turrets back around, and I tell Zing at this point, hey man, I have a hunch that one of those ships is going to go back towards Alpha at this time, and one of the Kutuzovs was on almost full health, so maybe that will be him. But right as I'm turning right about, the enemy Ibuki appears at 9.3 kilometers away, so now I'm going to get my guns singing on that Japanese Tier 9 heavy cruiser. And I'm not detected at this point because I still have a bit of the rock on my starboard side to protect me from shellfire and keep me concealed. And then it's also at this point that the enemy Hamagi and the Iowa appear, so I am immediately going to pop my smoke, my 3rd one of the game. And also at this point, I tell Zing, hey, let's start focusing on this Amagi. The Kutuzov is at 2,000 health. He's not going to be alive for much longer. So at this point, we're just trying to focus down on one of the battleships so our friendly Izumo over there will be able to deal with him a little bit better. And our Izumo is sailing completely broadside. And you can see here, however, the Amagi. It's a rather tough ship, and these shells are just coming down at a very nice angle, hitting right in the superstructure. 4,000 damage after a 2,900 salvo. Our friendly Kutuzov kicks the bucket. Not good at all. I'm still deciding to shoot here at the enemy Amagi, another 4K salvo. The Iowa takes a massive hit from our friendly Izumo, but unfortunately he is not going to be alive for very much longer either. Another 1,000 damage there on the Amagi. And it's at this point, if you notice, that enemy New Orleans appeared very, very briefly at Delta 6. And if you're also paying attention, Objective Alpha is getting captured. So at this point, Zing was like, hey man, I need you to come over here and help me out at Objective Alpha. It's probably one of the Kutuzovs. And then the New Orleans gets detected. So I swing my guns into play extremely fast. This happened in a split second. I managed to snapshot and get at least the rear turrets through the island gap. Will I be able to sink the New Orleans? Yes, I do. What a shot by me. I'm not going to lie. That had me going pretty good. And right as I managed to kill the New Orleans, the Kutuzov appears at 9.5 kilometers on 28,000 points of health. It's a 3v3 now. It's 594 to 539. So now I got to help my buddy out here as he takes some pretty good hits from this guy so we can get 2 of our guns going instead of 1. And we should be able to kill this guy a lot faster. Unfortunately, the Izumo dies, so now it is a 2 versus 3. And if we're able to kill this Kutuzov, we are going to be very better off for trying to win this game. Unfortunately, Zing has been taking some pretty heavy hits from that guy. I'm guessing he's running IFHE because Zing was at 22,000 hit points. That guy's only been shooting high explosive at him. And yeah, he's already lost 2/3 of his hit points. So now I feel comfortable enough to go full broadside and just continue to shoot armor piercing at this guy. And even though he's completely angled away from me, the shells that are hitting the superstructure are still doing a very healthy amount of damage. 1,000 here, 1,000 there, 1,500 there. Very good stuff. The Kutuzov is melting away. He is on fire. Hopefully we'll be able to get the kill before Zing kicks the bucket because he's only on 2,000 health here. We continue to pump this guy. The Kutuzov turns a bit broadside more than he should, and I'm going to be able to snag the kill and pick up the Kraken right as Zing dies. That is not good. And with 5 minutes and 55 seconds left, I'm up to 137,000 points of damage and 5 kills. And unfortunately, I now find myself in a 2 versus 1. So I still have 2 hydroacoustics available, and I still do have a smoke, and luckily for me, I still have about 3/4 of my hit points left. But it's an enemy Amagi and almost a full health Ibuki. At least I'm pretty sure he's going to be near full health. He does have access, of course, to the repair party. So although he did take some damage earlier, he will be able to get some of that back. So now we're going to switch gears a little bit here, and what do you do when you're in a 2 versus 1, or, you're the last guy alive? Well, you want to play to the strengths of the ship. Now, obviously, going up against a battleship in one of these light cruisers is a horrible idea, because even if they shoot high explosive at you, they still do massive amounts of damage. But the priority right now is trying to figure out where that enemy Ibuki is, because what I'm trying to do here, you want to try and, slice them off one by one. You want to try and get into an engagement where you're only dealing with one ship at a time. And on a map like Estuary, obviously, there's plenty of islands, and there's plenty of cover to be able to force engagements into narrow, tight channels. So right now, if one of the enemy ships were to go down the channel that's right in front of me, that would actually be very ideal for me. I tried to get vision onto Objective Charlie as much as possible, and of course, right as I'm about to go around the island, that enemy Ibuki will make his way there. And right as I'm coming around the headland here, the enemy Amagi appears at 10.5 kilometers away, and he's about at half health. Now, I'm not going to be able to make it onto Bravo by the time he comes within my detectability range. Once again, it's 9 kilometers, and right at about this time, the enemy Ibuki is going to get on Charlie. So they're going to force my hand, and right as I get detected, I get my full broadside out. Luckily for me, once again, this guy does not have his guns pointed at me, so that's not just one Amagi that made a very questionable decision, but it's 2. He shoots his forward guns at me right as I go undetected, and he shoots HE. So at this point, I realize with the Ibuki on the cap, I can't sit here, and I can't just wait for that Amagi to make a play. We're down by about 60 points at this section of the game, but I have to charge this guy. And this is a horrible play. Don't get me wrong. This is something that you should not be doing in your British light cruisers, but at this point, I absolutely have to. Now, some Ibuki shells are actually going to come through the island on the right side. You see there that little U shape in the mountain over there. Armor-piercing shells coming in, and I take a couple in the superstructure for about 2,500, but this enemy Amagi is presiding a nice broadside to me. I'm getting hit by his secondaries, so the worst thing that he could do right now is actually turn in towards me and put me in a position where I'm only taking shots from him. And that's exactly what he does, and I continue to pump even more damage into this guy. The superstructure AP salvos here is absolutely glorious. I got 13 seconds left on the reload. It looks like he's going for the ram here. So at this point, I make one big mistake. I do have to kind of go broadside right here to get my torpedoes out. I probably should have turned to starboard. The Ibuki shoots an armor-piercing salvo. The shells are coming in on me. Am I dead? Oh, no, I don't. I take it all the way in the superstructure, launch my starboard side torpedoes, manage to get a high caliber, and get my 6th ship destroyed, and then the Ibuki is sitting broadside to me. I can't believe this. Takes about 9,000 points of damage. He gets another armor piercing out, but I'm able to angle in as I pick up the Confederate, and I have my hydroacoustic going now, so I'm waiting for his torpedoes, and there we go. I start to turn to port a little bit, and look at the hit points just get deleted on this guy. He's down to 1,000 hit points. Very good stuff. The secondaries are getting in range too. I managed to get out of the way of the torpedoes. Another broadside out, and I put him on 79 hit points. I still got to stay alive, though. I cannot afford to take one of these torpedoes, or I'm going to be dead. So I speed up a little bit, turn slightly to port, and now I'm going to go hard to starboard, and I've been able to sneak my way in between the torpedoes. This Ibuki's only got 2,500 points of health, and now my rate of fire and my superior turret traverse is going to absolutely melt this guy. The forward guns are out. I put him on 400 hit points. The rear turrets fly in, and I managed to get my 7th kill of the game, taking care of business here on the map Estuary. Alrighty guys, taking a look now at the post-battle results. 568,000 credits received, just shy of 15k total XP. Pick up the Confederate, a dreadnought of all things, Kraken, and high caliber. 203,000 points of damage done off of 2 citadels, 4 torpedo hits, and 455 shell hits. 7 enemy ships sent to the bottom, 1 solo base cap, and even 51 secondary hits with those dual-purpose guns. Taking a look at the team score now, 3,235 base XP. Clearly at the top of the leaderboard on both the enemy and friendly teams. What a nice carry right there. Yes, the Amagi shot high explosive at me. I completely understand, but holy crap, I was ecstatic after this game, and something like that, Honestly, I just don't know if I would have been able to do it in something that wasn't a British light cruiser. The rate of fire, the torpedoes, and the ability to smoke up is something that cannot be underestimated with these things. And although you don't get results like this all the time, I really hope this showed you the AP, the torpedoes, and the smoke, and exactly what you need to do in those situations to be able to take the most advantage of them. So with that being said, the Sneaky Snake here for Brothers in Arms World of Warships signing off. Guys, please like, comment, and possibly subscribe to the channel. All of it is appreciated. We really enjoy the community, and obviously we're excited to continue to make great content. Take care, guys.